Beyond Bedtime.
Hi, welcome to Beyond Bedtime. I am your host, Stooge Carmichael, and get off me. Over there is my producer, Flem Beekman, and please stop. Unfortunately, he decided to bring his kids to work today. Janice, don't touch that. Okay, today we have episode 2 of Nathan and Walter versus the Costume People. Larry, put that down. All right, so to catch you up, costumes have got out of control. Nathan and Walter don't know what to do. I'm not really sure. So, without further ado, here is episode 2 of Nathan and Walter versus the Costume People. Nathan and Walter versus the Costume People, episode 2. Suspension Full House. Clark stood in a dark room and heard a voice.
Clark Cocoplex, thank you for coming.
It sounded like the Scion. Hello? Said Clark.
Can you not hear me?
I can hear you. I just can't see anything.
Oh, sorry about that. Just a moment.
Clark heard a whomping sound, then a crackle, then at once a purple light flooded the room.
Can you see me now?
This was said by the Scion, who looked like a flat-screen television sitting on top of a glazed donut. Yes, I can. I can see you, Clark said.
Good,
said the Scion, and as he spoke, a digital mouth animated across the screen, as well as eyes and flaring nostrils. He moved forward a bit, his donut body rolling across the floor. He had little squiggly white arms. Why have you called me here? Said Clark.
Enough,
said the Scion. Dennis giggled. Dennis appeared to be a Nintendo 3DS that could fly.
You have lost your Orb of Blue Stuff. You have lost it to the worst of all places, Earth.
What's wrong with Earth? Said Clark.
What's wrong with Earth? He says. Clark, I know you have watched Earthlings. Look at them.
The Scion changed his computer screen to videos of Earthlings. A large man took a bite from a burrito, and beans got all over his shirt. A woman fell asleep in a tanning bed and got sunburned. A wild-eyed child ran headfirst into a metal pole.
These are Earthlings, and you have given these Earthlings access to an advanced alien technology. There is a reason Nebotians are to never be apart from their blue orbs.
Why do we even have these orbs if we can never use them?
Nebotians are protectors of the orbs. Your race is so boring, and with such a lack of curiosity, that you are the perfect safeguards. But not you, Clark Cocoplex. You are a sorry excuse for a Nebotian. You have lost your orb, and only you can get it back.
Why only me?
Among other things, you are the only Nebotian who has any imagination, any ability to go on adventure. This is a terrible quality, so do not gloat. But, just as you are the only Nebotian to tinker with the knob, you are the only Nebotian who is able to undo it.
The Scion gestured to a curious-looking spaceship. It looked like a hot dog.
We can stay in touch via this communicator.
He handed Clark something that looked very similar to a modern smartphone. I don't know if I'm ready, said Clark. I've never left Nebo before. Besides, what's the rush? I only lost the orb yesterday. What could possibly have gone wrong? Standing side by side at the edge of the school cafeteria were the 4 costumes. Chester, the Santa costume, Derek, the Mario costume, Glibbly, the Squidward costume, and Ricotta, the Elsa costume.
It's gonna be impossible to remember all your names,
said Chester.
It probably would have been easier if we went by our costume character names.
Oh no, it's me, Derek.
Yeah, listen, guy, I got it.
Chester said. None of the children had noticed the costume standing there, yet. Chester walked over to the food counter.
1 bowl of cheesy pasta, please,
he said. The lunch lady didn't even look up at him as she served his disgustingly gooey pasta. The other costumes got milk, ice cream, and a mushy banana. With his pasta, Chester walked over to the biggest child in the cafeteria, an ogre of a boy, a 5th grader named Bocephus. Chester tapped him on the shoulder. Bocephus turned around, and just as he did, Chester dumped his entire bowl of pasta on his head. "Hey!" Bocephus said. Derek flung his vanilla ice cream at the back of Jensen's head.
Hey!
Glibly smushed the banana all over someone's library book, and Ricotta poured chocolate milk all over a terrified group of kindergartners. "Ha ha ha ha, Mamma Mia!" said Derek. The cafeteria went silent as the children couldn't believe what they were seeing. Costumes that were standing in front of them, alive. Bocephus couldn't care less about the costumes, but only about the cheesy pasta that was running down the back of his neck. "What was that for?" Bocephus said.
Oh, you don't need to be so sore,
said Chester as he picked a pasta shell off of Bocephus' shoulder and flicked it in the air.
We're just having a little fun.
Yeah. Ha ha ha, said the rest of the costumes.
You pesky kids have been wearing us around and then locking us away in boxes, so now we are gonna have our own fun, and there isn't anything you can do about it.
The table of kindergartners, who were covered in milk, began to cry. Principal Goodman heard the crying and ran from his office to the cafeteria. Chester and the costumes heard the adults coming and made their way to the cafeteria exit on the other side of the room.
See you kids later,
Chester said.
Enjoy your lunch.
The costumes were gone, and the children couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. "What's going on here?" Principal Goodman said.
Costumes are alive, throwing food everywhere.
It's pandemonium!
"Quiet now," said Principal Goodman. "You are all talking at once, and I can't hear any of it. You, Nathan Carver, speak up."
Principal Goodman, costumes came to life and then came into the cafeteria and started throwing food at everyone.
"What? Nathan Carver, lying just like your little brother? Well, now you're suspended too. Would anybody else like to join him?" All the other children remained silent. "Now, all of you children clean up this mess. Nathan, you come with me." The costumes looked from a window and laughed at all the trouble they had caused. Clark sat in the hot dog shuttle and said, "What do I do now?"
Can you hear me?
said the Scion. "Yes," Clark said.
Good. Keep this device with you, and you can contact me when you need to. I'm at the knob now. I'll change it to drop something to Earth.
"Thanks," Clark said. As instructed, Clark pressed the giant green button in the middle of the hot dog spaceship. The button said, "It's go time." And right after he pressed it, a voice boomed out, "It's go time!" And the hot dog spaceship rocketed out into space between the Earth and the Moon. Compared to all of space, this looked like a rather small distance, but it was still 82,000 miles. Beautiful lights of all colors passed by outside of the spaceship in wavy lines. Outside his window, he saw the great openness of space, and he saw the planet Earth getting bigger and bigger as he approached, and he was excited, but also scared. After entering Earth's atmosphere, Clark then landed the ship, parking it behind an old, unused billboard behind Ambrosia Elementary School.
Perfect. You are there. Now, I've given you a tracker device for your Orb of Blue Stuff. Turn it on.
Clark looked at the device on his hip and pressed the button.
Orb of Blue Stuff not near, probably still around here.
Okay, said Clark. I guess I'm in the right area. Let's try this thing out. Clark began to walk north, away from the school.
This is the wrong direction. This is the wrong direction. This is the wrong direction. This is the wrong direction.
Said Clark. That is annoying. Okay, I guess I'll try the other direction. Clark began walking towards the school.
You are warming up. Orbs in this direction, warming up.
Okay, said Clark. That's good. I have to figure out how to turn the volume down on this thing. On the other side of the school, Chester and the costumes were sneaking along the wall outside the gymnasium.
Okay,
Said Chester.
here are our choices. We can go to the music room and knock over the instruments,
Or the library, where we can draw on the books.
or the gym, where we can deflate the dodgeballs.
A music
Library.
room.
Ugh. You three can't agree on anything. Okay, Derek, let's go to the music room.
Here we go.
The costumes snuck around to the back of the school and through a window into the music room. Chester smiled, grabbed some drums, and started whacking away. Glibly played a saxophone. Derek played bongos. And Ricotta just practiced her singing.
Baby, can't you see? I'm calling. A guy like you should wear a warning.
The costumes carried on like this for a while until they yet again heard footsteps coming down the hallway.
Okay, guys, let's get out of here.
Chester said. They went to leave the same window they had come in, but it was shut. Chester tried to open it, but it was locked. He pushed it, and it wouldn't budge. He picked a flute and threw it at the window, but it wouldn't break.
Confound you. This window has the strength of Hercules.
Chester looked at the costumes.
Quick, hide!
The costumes ran towards the coat hooks. Principal Goodman entered the music room.
What is going on in here?
He looked around the room, but he didn't see anyone. He walked around. Come on, I know someone is in here. I heard all that banging around on our brand new musical instruments. Do you think this stuff pays for itself?
Chester,
Glibly said.
Be quiet, you fool.
I just wanted to know, what is the game plan exactly? I mean, we're just causing a lot of trouble, and then what?
I said quiet.
What was that over there? Principal Goodman said. He walked over to the coat hook and began looking through the coats. Okay, I've heard something. Come out of there. But after rooting around through everything, he still couldn't find anyone. Then, he noticed the Santa costume, the Squidward costume, the Mario costume, and the Elsa costume. What are these costumes doing out? Aha! The troublemakers must have used these as disguises. Well, no more disguises. He grabbed the 4 costumes and threw them into a satchel, and walked down the hall back to the ISS room. Mr. Retzker, keep an eye on these costumes. They are uniform paraphernalia from whoever has been causing all this trouble in the school. He turned to Nathan and Walter. Do you boys know anything about this? They both shook their head no. Okay then, enjoy the rest of your day in suspension. He tossed the satchel into the corner of the room. He thought he heard something. A voice came over the loudspeaker.
Principal Goodman, to the principal's office. To your office. Okay, please, just come.
Principal Goodman left to go to his office. Hidden in a vent above the classroom, Clark had been watching all of this. Using his tracker, he had been led to the odd-looking red costume that seemed to be the primary troublemaker. Scion? Clark messaged back to his home planet, but he only heard dead air. Scion of the Chancel of Glorbus? Still nothing. You see, the Scion of the Chancel of Glorbus was called to other business. It was that time of year on Nebo, and all the Nebotians were preparing for the annual Sklarfing Festival. To do this, they brought all their best cabinets and doors to the lush fields of Sequence. The field was, well, it was just a field of neatly cut grass, where a lot of Sklarfing went on once a year. The Scion was put in charge of the northwest sector, the woodwind cabinets, and gestured over to a younger Nebotian to make sure she was lining up her cabinet properly.
Yes, like this. Perfectly line it up, or it won't sound right.
Oh, okay, said the young Nebotian. Are you the Scion of the Chancel of Glorbus?
I am.
My name is Jesse Stargazer. Clark Cocoplex is my best friend. I wanted to know, is he okay?
Oh, yes, Clark. He will be fine.
But what about the sirens and the Hall of Cretan opening, and...
Little girl,
said the Scion.
there is simply no reason to get all worked up. Your friend Clark did something he shouldn't have, and now we have him correcting his problem. Simple as that.
Just behind him, there was a huge rumbling sound.
Now, if you'll excuse me.
Jessie saw behind him the biggest cabinet she had ever seen. It was, well, big. Big as a football field. Or, on planet Nebo, they would probably just say it was as big as lots of cabinets, because Nebotians didn't play any sports. Too dangerous. Busy as he was, the Scion still did not hear Clark calling to him from Earth.
Scion of the Chancel of Glorbus. I've located the orb, but it's in a locked room, and it's surrounded by humans.
Still nothing. Clark sighed, put the communicator away, and listened as the two boys in the classroom began to speak.
Why were you sent to ISS?
Said Walter.
Principal Goodman thought I lied about the costume people. And why are you here? Same reason.
They looked over as Mr. Ratsker snored at his desk.
I don't care.
Walter said.
I don't like school anyways. Yeah, but Walter, you don't have to be so angry all the time. Not everyone is out to get you. That's what you think.
Hey, whispered Clark from behind the grate. Walter looked over and saw something inside the air duct.
What do you want?
Listen to me. This is very important. There is too much to explain right now. For now, I need you to go into that satchel and grab the blue orb. It's blue. Then, give it to me.
What's in it for me?
For you, Clark said. That orb is very dangerous. It is no good for anyone, and certainly no good for Earthlings.
Earthlings? Where exactly are you?
Walter leaned closer to the grate. He saw Clark. Clark looked mostly like a human child, except he had multicolored skin and a really bad haircut.
Ha ha.
Walter said.
Your hair is weird.
My hair? Said Clark. Please, just get the orb. Walter looked at Mr. Ratsker, who was still asleep, then walked over to the satchel. He stuck his hand in and rooted around, then brought his hand back out, holding the Orb of Blue Stuff. There it is, Clark said. Now bring it over here. I think we can fit it through the vent. Please, this is very important. Walter walked towards the vent. Then, he heard a voice behind him.
Ho, ho, hold up there, Walter.
It was Chester, standing next to three other costumes.
Santa.
No, I told you, my name's Chester.
And Mario.
No! It's Sammy! Derek!
That's confusing.
Said Nathan.
Walter, don't give back that orb. With that orb, we can do anything.
Like what?
Like bring things to life.
Chester said.
Join us. I'll bust you out of suspension, and we can go have some fun.
No, don't do it, Clark said.
Walter, I don't think that's a good idea. Those costumes bullied everyone in the cafeteria.
Walter looked first at his brother Nathan sitting at his desk, and Clark behind the vent, and then on the other side of the room where Chester and the costumes were standing. He had a decision to make. Oh, hi, this is Stooge Carmichael. I hope you enjoyed that. I couldn't even listen to it because Janice and Larry, stop it. All right, these Ice Falcons are driving me nuts. Listen to episode 3 soon. Bye.